You know that feeling when you scroll through a sea of mini PC listings, see a sleek, pocket-sized box with a shiny picture, and think, finally, something that won't eat up my desk. Then you get it, plug it in, and realize it's more of a paperweight than a workhorse. I've been there, and that's why I'm diving into the ASUS NUC 15 Pro today to help you avoid that disappointment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the problem most buyers face with tiny desktops. They either underpromise and overdeliver on size, or they overpromise on power and end up throttling under real workloads. The NUC 15 lands somewhere in the middle, and the question is whether that middle ground is wide enough for you. I spent a week swapping it between my home office, a cramped co-working space, and my living room media setup, so I can speak to how it behaves in each scenario. If you're someone who spends most of the day in a browser, juggling spreadsheets, and occasionally running a Python script that calls a bit of AI inference, the NUC's 13th Gen Intel Core 7240H does the job without breaking a sweat. In my tests, opening a dozen Chrome tabs, a Slack workspace, and a VS Code window felt as snappy as any laptop I own. Compiling a moderate C++ project that normally takes 30 seconds on my 14-inch MacBook took about the same time here, which tells you the CPU is more than capable for everyday productivity and light creative work like photo editing or 1080p video trimming. Now, the thing that makes the NUC stand out in the crowded mini PC market is the combination of a 16GB DDR5 kit and a 512GB NVMe SSD tucked behind a tool-free access panel. Upgrading the memory or swapping the drive is as easy as popping off a side cover, no screwdrivers, no static wristband gymnastics. For people who like to future-proof their rigs, that's a real win. You can add another 16GB stick later and keep the system humming for years, something you rarely see in a device this small. Ports are the lifeline of any desktop, and the NUC 15 packs a surprising amount for its size. Two Thunderbolt 4 ports give you 40 gigabits per second bandwidth, which means you can hook up a 4K monitor, an external GPU enclosure, or a fast RAID array without needing a separate dock. There's also a full-sized HDMI 2.1, 3 USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 ports, and a 2.5 gigabits Ethernet jack. In practice, I could run a dual-monitor setup, one 4K OLED for design work and a 1080p secondary for email, while still having room for a webcam, a USB-C SSD, and my favorite mechanical keyboard. The Wi-Fi 7 module kept the wireless connection buttery smooth, even when I was a few rooms away from the router. Thermals are where tiny PCs often stumble, and ASUS tries to address that with a dual-fan solution that claims 24/7 reliability. On a quiet day, the fan stayed below 30 dBA, barely audible over the hum of an office fan. When I pushed the CPU to 5 GHz with a stress test, the fan ramped up to around 45 dBA. You'll hear it, but it never turned into a full-blown radiator scream. The heat sinks kept the processor under 85 C, which is respectable for a chassis that measures just over a foot in length. In a hot summer apartment, I did notice a slight throttling after an hour of continuous video rendering, but the performance dip was only about 5% and the system stayed stable. One of the selling points ASUS highlights is the AI-ready Ubuntu Linux build. As someone who runs Jupyter notebooks and tinkers with TensorFlow, I appreciated that the machine boots straight into a clean Ubuntu 22.0 for LTS installation, pre-configured for NVIDIA CUDA, even though the NUC itself doesn't ship with a discrete GPU. I was able to install the OpenClaw drivers and run a small image classification model without any driver drama. If you're a developer looking for a low-profile Linux box that can handle occasional AI workloads, this is a solid foundation. Just remember that you won't get the same performance as a dedicated GPU rig. It's more of a good enough for prototyping scenario. Who should consider buying this thing? Think of remote workers, programmers, digital artists who need a second workstation, or anyone who wants a home theater PC that won't dominate the living room DCor. The compact footprint, roughly the size of a stack of books, means it slides under a monitor or into a bookshelf without any fuss. If you're building a multi-monitor setup for trading, coding, or design, the Thunderbolt 4 connectivity makes it easy to daisy-chain displays while keeping the cable clutter low. Who should skip it? If you're a hardcore gamer chasing 144Hz 1440p or 4K frame rates, the integrated graphics won't cut it. You'd need an external GPU enclosure, which defeats the purpose of a truly compact system for many.